This video is about a tabletop simulator mod for the card game Isaac Four Souls. The video explains the mod in all its details and has three main parts. The first part explains the table and how to use it. The second part shows you all the configurations you can do. And the third and last part shows you some leftover fancy smancy stuff which I haven't explained before. Yeah, that's it. Let's start. So the easiest way to play the game is by skipping the configuration window. And first of all, we will take a closer look on the table itself. And from left to right. On the left side, you can see a quick start guide for the game with all the rules and also a key term card. But the most important thing is you can select your language on the left side before you start the game, in the best case. Then you can see a lot of community and custom stuff. So for example, community expansions, a lot of them, and a lot of custom die if you want to use them. And also a trapdoor in which you can throw anything you want to delete. And yeah, if you throw it in there, then it's gone. So the middle of the table is the playing area. And on the right side, you can see all available characters from the base game. And yes, the playing area consists out of 4 sections. The treasure zone or shop zone, in which you can buy treasures or get treasure cards. The mid zone has the room cards and loot cards. And the right zone has all the monsters. And next to them are the bonus souls. And then the 4 player zones: red, blue, green, and yellow. So, before you start the game, you have to select a color. So we go for red. And there you have your player zone. A short explanation for the player zone. You have your slots for treasure, loot cards, whatever you want in the middle. Above them you have your pill slots, in which you can store temporary cards like curses or just plain loot cards, so you can keep track of them during your turn. Next to them is a zone called loot zone. For the moment, it does nothing, but maybe in the future it gets some automation. For example, you can play your loot card in this zone by dropping it in there, and then it will do whatever the loot card stated. For example, if you place a nickel card in there, you get 5 coins. But that's some future work. On the right side, you have your soul zones, in which you can place your 4 souls. If you have 4 souls, you win the game. And yeah, here you have your health bar, and if you die, you click on the death symbol. And also we have some sounds in this map. For example, if you get a soul, you hear a nice soul sound. And as you can see, there are also 3 counters which count your souls, your loot cards in your hands, and yeah, your coins, which you have to modify manually. And like all counter in the game, you can increase by left clicking them and decrease by right clicking them. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. And now we look at the game and how we started. First of all, you select a color. We have already selected color. And then you can select your character, either by manually pressing select on one of the character packs, and it will automatically placed in your zone. Or you can go with a character randomizer. Let's say you want to select out of 4 character packs chosen at random. then you click randomize to me or to all if you want to deal them to all players. Every player gets 4 random character packs in this case, but it's only me in the game, so only I get 4 random character packs, and then I can select whatever character I want. For example, I want to play Guppy. The rest of the packs you can return, but you don't have to. The game will do it for you if you don't do it. Yeah, and after that, there's only one thing to do before you can start the game, or you don't have to, but maybe you want, and this is selecting the starting player. So you can achieve this by either pressing the start buttons here. So for example, you want green to be the starting player, so you click green. In my case, there's no green player, so I only can select red. If you don't select any color, then red goes first. The other way, if you want to select the player random, and also if you want to select a random player in the game later on, you can use this die. So you can pick it up. Then after you picked it up, every side of the die will be assigned with one of the player colors. At the moment, I'm the only player, so every side of the die is red. And if you roll the die before the game has started, then the die will automatically select the starting player. That being said, now after every player has selected a color and a character, we can start the game by pressing the start button. Then the game will be initialized. Also a little sound effect. You get 3 loot cards and you can start the game. At the top you can pass the turn to another player. It's only me, so if I press it, I get the turn back. Otherwise, the next player can start its turn. And our turn mechanism will also replace the original tabletop simulator turn mechanism. So this is the only way how you can pass your turn. These 4 squares are buttons for a mechanism called Spy Zone, in which you can look at the top cards of a deck. So if you play Kane instead of Guppy, you have an item which allows you to look at the top 5 cards of a deck, whatever you want, and put them back in any order. So that's a little bit complicated to use, so therefore are the spy buttons. You use your item, and then maybe you want to look at the loot deck. So you go to the loot button, and there you can see left click only the top card, right click top 5 cards. So we do a right click, and now 5 cards are dealt to the spy zone of the red player. So every player has its own spy zone, but yeah, you will find it if you click on your buttons. So the cards are only visible to me, and I can decide if I want to put them on the top of the deck with the arrow pointing upwards, or at the bottom of the deck with the arrow pointing downwards, or if I want to discard the card so it goes to the discard pile of the corresponding deck. In my case, I can put the card back in any order on top of the deck. And yeah, the battery goes first because I don't want it, and then the rest of the cards, and the die shard goes last because I want it as soon as I draw the next loot card. Oh, sorry, I misclicked the arrows, but I think you get the point. So now the die shard is on top of the deck, and my first step of the turn is to loot. And yeah, you can do this by either pressing the loot button under the deck, or you can press your loot counter and get the top card. You can do this as often as you want, and it keeps track of your hands cards. So, as you see, you can do this with every kind of deck. For example, loot cards, treasure cards, monster cards, and room cards. Because I did a little mistake, you saw it earlier. If you press the button and it's above this button, it will press both buttons sometimes. Yeah, and you get the top monster card. So, therefore, you can set some options with this button. It opens the player options menu. So here you can see a bunch of stuff which you can configure for only you, because the settings are only for you and your playing zone. There you can see spy zone position, and you can select in front of hand, so you don't have the problem I showed you earlier, and then it moves in front of you. So you have the two options, either to set the spy zone on the side or in front of you. Default is on the side for now. And then you can look at the top cards and they go in front of you. And then you can put them back in any order. Yeah, that's one of the options. The other options are some graphic options, which we don't look at the moment. The other options are to turn off or to turn on some automations. On the left side you can see turn automations, which will take place if you pass the turn or get the turn passed. And on the right side you can see general automations, which will take place in some points of the game. If you trigger something, for example, if you die, or if you kill a monster, or play a loot card, or so on. First of all, we take a closer look at the turn automations. So, for example, you have move camera at start. So, let's deactivate the other stuff. What this means is, if you get your turn passed, your camera will move to your player zone. For example, if green was the last player and you get your turn passed, then you can see the camera moves to your hand zone, and now you can see your player zone and start your turn. So the next thing, which is automatically turned on, is item activation at start. What this does is, if you have a bunch of active items and you use some of them, in this case we would destroy them if we use them, but here, for example, you have used your starting item and this one, and you have item activation at start turned on, then you can see, if you get the turn passed, all of your used active items will be activated again. You can see also your character, and this is what this option does. And also you can disable camera movement, so if you pass your turn, the camera don't move. So, the last option is healing at turn end. And this is also a very neat function, which you can use to, whenever a turn ends, all players get healed. For example, you lose 1 health, then you pass your turn, you get healed. Also, if you're dead, you get healed. And it also works with items. For example, the boyfriend starts with his girlfriend, and if you have a counter on it, you get 1, or if you get for every 2 counter on it, 2 health. So if I end my turn, I now have 4 health, plus 2 from the boyfriend and 2 from my girlfriend. And that's it. So these are some pretty neat automations. There's also something called looting at turn start, which you can activate, and if you start your turn, you get 1 loot card dealt to your hand. Okay, nice. And now the last two automations for now. Maybe these two will come in the future. But the last two are auto-rewarding, which is automatically turned on, and death detection. What death detection does is if you click your death symbol, every active item will be deactivated and also your character. And maybe in the future it does a little bit more, but that's for now. So if I die, I'm dead. Okay. And I have item automation on, so if I get the turn passed, everything gets activated again. So the second general automation is auto-rewarding, and yeah, this is if you kill a monster which has a simple reward, then you get the reward automatically. For example, Baby Plum has roll and gain X cents. So this is a complicated reward, so you have to do it manually. But for example, we attack the mulligan. So you can see the attack buttons for the monster zone. You attack the mulligan. Then it goes down to 0 health. So it is killed. Then you can confirm that the monster is killed. If you do this, you gain 3 cents. So in our case, we have 6 cents after we killed him. And yeah, that's it. The next monster gets revealed automatically. And yeah, for example, if you kill Baby Plum, so you don't have to do this by attacking. You can also play bombs and then his health goes to 0. And you can confirm that he's dead. Then you click finish him and you get his soul. And for the reward, yeah, you have to roll and type it in and adjust the counter manually. Okay, he's dead, you get a soul, and that's it. Nice. So, on the right side you have the bonus souls. If they need counter, you can drag them from the bag in the middle. So there are counters which you can play on monsters or bonus souls or whatever. And yeah, that's nearly anything. We can look at the middle zones a little bit in detail. For example, yeah, you saw you can increase the HP of the monsters or decrease them. If you pass the turn, the monster will be healed. So it gets healed back to 3 lives. Yeah, and if you want to attack, you can attack them by pressing the button and cancel it again. And if he dies, you have to confirm it, that you killed the monster. And if there's a curse revealed from the top of the monster deck and is placed in one of the monster zones, a little window opens in which you can select who gets the curse. For example, you can select random or you can select a color, but yeah, it's only me, so I can't select blue because it's not an active player. So for example, I go with red and now it's dealt to my pill slot. So every player can see I have a curse. If I need more monster zones because they will be expanded, I can activate them by left clicking them. So we can add more zones. And yeah, if I want to attack the monster deck, I press attack and then I say, okay, I wanted attack in this zone, and it's also a curse. Yeah, you can also cancel this and drag it manually to someone. Yeah, whatever you want. And that's it for the monsters. Let's take a closer look at the loot deck. There's nothing to look at except the loot button, so you can deal a loot card to yourself. The room deck has 1 slot activated, and there you can place a new room. Yeah. Or you can discard the top room and then it goes away. Also, you can activate a second room slot if you need to. And then the treasure deck, there you can buy some items, so you can purchase them and they go directly to your player zone. And yeah, you can also purchase the top card of the deck and it goes to your player zone. And if you need, you can expand the shop slot. Yo, and yeah, I forgot anything. The last thing we can look at are these counter bags. They are on this side and on the other side. And if you need, you can use custom counters like them for some fancy stuff. For example, some tapeworms use egg counters, and then you can place the egg counter wherever you want. Okay, now let's take a closer look on the configuration window. This is the first window you will see when you start the game. And in the center of this window, you can find some deck building options and game options. Also 2 arrows to the left and the right. The left shows all the community expansion you can see on the left side of the table. And the arrow to the right will feature some advanced deck building functions. But more to that later. For now, we will look at the game options. There you can see 2 checkboxes checked for rooms and bonus souls, which means you play with rooms and bonus souls, so if you don't need them, you can uncheck them. Multi-Char players and challenges, we will see in a second what this does. But now let's take a closer look at the expansions on the left side. Here you can select which expansion do you want to use. Just check the checkbox to this expansion. For example, we want to use these 4 expansions. And keep in mind, we don't use bonus souls and rooms. Now we click Done. And the expansions you previously selected will be extracted here. You don't have to do anything. Do it just like always. Every player selects a color and a character and hits start. Or if you want to use the characters from the expansions, you can use the chest on the bottom of the table. Here you can see place characters from playing area, not from chest, from playing area. And what this does is it will place all the characters from the expansions in the playing zone. And if you only want to play with characters from community mods, you first have to delete all existing characters with the red button above the little chest. And then place the modded characters. So you hit the button here, and every character will be placed on the right side. Now you can see here's the second plane because we have too much characters. And now these are all the characters from which you can choose. For example, we want 7 characters to choose from. And now we have also characters from the expansions. For example, the Fiend, but also characters from the base game. Then you can hit start, and remember, we don't use rooms and bonus souls. And all the expansion cards will be placed on its corresponding deck zones. It is maybe a little bit laggy, but it will all be done automatically and you don't have to do anything. The game will be set up like always, and you can see here are more cards than usually. Because the deck builder for now don't work with community expansions, it will just use all of the cards from the community expansions and shuffle them into the decks. Okay, let's take a look at the characters. If you don't like the plane while you're playing, you can hit store away, and all the remaining characters will be stored in this sack. Okay, and also if you play with expansions, take a closer look on this seg, which appears if you use expansions. There you can find the remaining stuff from the expansion which can't be placed on the deck zones. For example, Stranger Friends brings custom cards. Okay, bonus souls, because we don't use bonus souls, so the bonus souls stay in the expansion, and also some explanations. Yeah, okay, that's it. But here also bonus souls and some custom rules and a lot of stuff. Okay, rooms and bonus souls. Yeah, because we don't use rooms and bonus souls in this example, they are all stored in the original expansion bags and not on the playing area. Nice. Okay. Now we take a closer look at the other two game options from the configuration window: multi-char player and challenges. If you want to play multiple characters or you want to play hot seat mode, you can check multi-char player. Then you press on the gear button to get to the configuration window for multi-char players. And there you can set whichever color you want to play. For example, player 1, it's me, want to play red and blue. And player 2 wants to play green and yellow. It's the same if you give player 2 green and yellow or player 3. So you hit OK and done. And now you can see here and in the chat, red plays red and blue. This is important because there's no more blue color to select. If I go to change color, there's no blue. Also no yellow because green plays now green and yellow. Keep that in mind if you selected blue before you select multiplayer character, multi-char players. Okay, now we select red and then we randomize character packs to me, for example, and you see they both go to red and blue because I play both of them. Then I select both of them and hit start. And now you can see I play both characters, and if I pass the turn, I will playing blue also, and back to red and to blue, and that's how you play multiple characters as one player. So now you want to play in a hot seat mode. So you just start the game as always, as single player or multiplayer, not in hot seat mode, and then you select multi-char player like before and hit the gear button. There you can select also like before the player, the color you want to play. For example, red and green should be in hot seat mode, and yeah, maybe blue too. And then, important, this button has to be checked, so it shines a little bit orange. And this means player 1 plays hot seat mode and not multiple characters. Okay, we hit done and done. And now, yeah, you can see like before, red plays red, blue and green. Okay. We select characters, so every player has to select his character. You hit start. And now you can spot the difference to multi-char player. The loot cards are turned around. So if you play red, red goes first. You don't see the hand cards of the other two players. And if you end your turn, there will start a timer. 3, 2, 1, and the next player begins its turn, and it's blue. And now red's hand cards are invisible. Do this again, and green starts its turn, and so on. So this is basically multi-char players for hot seat mode. And you can also combine hot seat player mode with a multiplayer mode. So you can play multiplayer and also with the other person in hot seat mode. So now let's take a closer look at the last game option, and this is challenges. If you enable challenges, you can see a bunch of challenges from which you can choose, like the expansions. For example, you want to play Creed's Gamble. You select Creed's Gamble, press Done, and then the game board changes and goes into challenge mode. We will see what this means in a second. And yeah, another window will be opened in which you can select the difficulty, because each challenge you can play in normal, hard, ultra hard, and also competitive. And also keep in mind you can play challenges in multi-char mode, so you can play 2 characters at a time. For example, you want to play, let's say, ultra hard, and above that you can also uncheck the auto features for challenges, because most of the challenges have automations which will be helpful in many cases, and yeah, for now we will let it turned on. Okay, if you hit done, the challenge will be set up. You can also see here a zone keeper heads. There will soon place some keeper heads, and also custom counter for the challenges are also here. Okay, then you can see some minion zones on the right, and if it's not enough for you, then you can also expand the left side if you hit the button, and now you have doubled the minion zones, and yeah, slots if you need to place cards specific for the challenges are also here on the left side. In the mid you can find the boss and the special rule card for this challenge. And on the right side you can see the leftovers. This is important because in this bag is the rulebook for this challenge. So if you want to play the challenge correctly, you have grab the rulebook and read whatever rules are special for this challenge. You can see here are some card descriptions, but if you scroll further, you can see rules for the challenge. Okay, nice. So then you select a character, hit start, and you can see there are a bunch of counters placed on the boss. That's the initialization of the challenge. And if you had turned off the automations for the challenge, then these counter won't be placed, and also some other stuff don't appear. Then you have your keeper heads on the right side, and if you know how the challenge works, you can add a minion. You can add a keeper head as a minion. So you go add minion. You can also cancel this if you don't need it, but you want to add a minion, then you can add a keeper head as a minion, and so on. So you add your minions. If you kill them, they go and die. And yeah, that's it for the challenges. You can place whatever you want in the minion zone, so every monster will be detected. And that's it. Now, the last stuff we can configure in the configuration window is the deck building and how it will be done. Under normal conditions, there is selected normal for deck building, and if you open the advanced deck builder, there you can see every type of cards are used for the deck building, so there are no constrictions. If you only play with 2 characters and players, or you want to play co-op and not competitive, then I highly recommend checking out Draft 2-player, because this disables all multiplayer cards, which are cards that are only useful with 3+ characters. Okay, but under normal conditions you want to play normal. You can also play with no deck building, so if you hit done, all the cards will be used. So we select a character, hit start, and now you can see all cards are used, no deck building will be done. And you can also set the ratios for the deck building itself. If you select custom and press done, then a new window opens in which you can configure how you would like the deck building. For example, you don't want only 3 pills in a loot deck, you want all of them. Type in a very high number, for example 99, and then all pills will be used. Or for example, you only want to use epic bosses and no other mobs except for curses, because curses and epic bosses are fantastic and you like dying every round. So then you hit done, and after you started the game, the deck builder will use your ratios to build all of the decks. You can see there are not so much monsters because there are not so much epic bosses and curses, but if we take a closer look, you can see it consists only out of very hard monsters and curses. Yeah, and in the loot deck you can spot a bunch of pills, hopefully. 1 pill, 2 pill, 3 pill, 4 pill. Yeah, you can see. So, now to the last deck building configuration, and this is the advanced deck builder. So, here you can see a bunch of stuff checked on the top. These are some categories of cards which you can disable if you don't want to use them. For example, you don't want alt art cards, just uncheck them, select whatever you want on the left side, except no deck building, because then it is useless to uncheck alt art. Press done, start a game, and you don't find alt art cards. Repeat this for every other category if you don't want to play with them. And that's it. Then the rest of the advanced deck builder window describes a seed algorithm, which you can also find on the 4 Souls website. On the website, you can enter a seed consisting out of 8 letters or digits. And this seed will determine the composition of all the decks. And you can use this also in this tabletop simulator mod. So you can enter the seed, the exact same seed you would enter on the website, and you can play the exact same deck which will be created on the website. So type in, it's always 8 digits or letters, and then you can press done. Or what we can also do is we can select a random seed, and if you also want seeded characters, you can click them, and let's say you want to play with 3 persons. Let's select 3 seeded characters, and yeah, that's it. The other 4 options below are only for the seed, so they will be used if you use the built-in deck builder. They are only used for the seed on the website. Then you press done. You can see the game will print the randomized seed in the chat, and our seed is GF9CLS8S. And these are the 3 selected characters. If there's more than 1 player, each character will be dealt to 1 player. Then we select a character and press start, and the seed algorithm will build the deck exactly like it's on the website. Keep in mind, it is a little bit more effort to use a seeded deck builder than the normal deck builder, so it can cause some tiny freezes or lags. But now you can play a seeded game and also repeat the game if you use the same seed in the future. And if you go really crazy, you can use this button on the right. If you click this button, all cards will be put on top of the table, and you can do whatever you want with cards before the game starts. And yeah, keep in mind there's no deck building, you have to do it by yourself if you click this button. And now let's take a look at the remaining fancy stuff. So the first thing we will look at is the change table mat, in which you can change the image of the table to some pre-installed images, for example a minimalistic image or some other fancy graphics. Yeah, or the original. And yeah, what you can do here is now you can change also the image to a custom image, whatever you want. For example, now you can change the image to your favorite cat with a head, type in your URL, and apply image to table. And now you have your own custom image with your favorite cat with a head. And yeah, you can also save the image if you want to use it later, and you save the game. And yeah, then you select your character and can play with the custom image. And you also get some outlines, at least for the player zones, not for monster, shop or loot zones, but the player zones have outlines, so you don't have to paste them in. You can use any image you want. And it's playable. Okay, nice. The next stuff is, if you don't like the custom sounds of this mod, you can just deactivate it by clicking on this button, and then it's muted, so no more death sound, no more turn passing sound, except the tabletop simulator sounds. Yeah, but that's it. So now you have the turn passing sound and the death sound. Okay, nice. And the last thing we take a look at are these buttons, because they will link to other versions of this mod. For example, you can see there is a 6-player version of this mod. So you click at it, then you have the link to the Steam Workshop file. You click again, now it's selected. Now you can press Ctrl+C, go to your browser and paste the URL, and there you can subscribe to the mod. Otherwise, it is also linked in the description of this mod. And yeah, this is the link to this mod. And there's also a slim version which don't features all the community stuff on the left, so it's a little bit leaner. Yeah, but now let's take a closer look at the two versions. First, the XL version. So, here in the XL version, you can play as 6 players, as you can see. And also, if you ever want to play challenges with more than 2 people, you can also play challenges on this table with 4 players. Nice. That's it. The bonus souls are now in the middle of the table, and also loot and rooms are a little bit separated, but otherwise it's the exact same as the normal mod. And here you can see the slim version of the table, so you don't have the community stuff on the left. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Maybe it makes the game loading a little bit faster, but there's no other changes to it.